Excuse me, tendenism.
See?
I already know exactly what I'm gonna do with that little recorded piece right there. I know exactly what I'm gonna do with that recorded piece right there. Yeah, boys, it's something else. Welcome to a recap episode of Pay the Toll Boxing on Foreman.
I'm twin.
I'm Rick.
And man, well, you know, it was all snowmageddon up here, down here, however you want to word that. It's colder up here than Dallas than it is down there in Houston, but either way, boys, everybody all right?
Yeah, man, we making it. Making it, man.
Ain't no power losses this time, so a win is a win. I take
Knock on wood.
it.
Hey, well,
You
when we played in that cold,
we
was
was
cold.
cold.
Yeah.
Ain't nothing to it. All right, I guess for this little one too, we gotta get straight into it. For no matter how bad it is, let's start off with Israel Madrimov.
Do we have
We
to?
we gotta go through it. Unfortunately, we all chose him to win. And we did say this could be, you know, a good comeback fight for him, obviously to win, but then also for Jamel Charlo to try to get himself back together before he goes into it with Ortiz or Boots. And well, he looks like food because it looks like Terrence Crawford and Virgil Ortiz probably beat the mysteriousness out of him. And man, it just did not look good for. He should not have been in there with a man who's been up and down in weight uh, as often as he has. Twin, what is your synopsis of the performance last night?
I think him and his team are lost, and I say that because so his last three fights, he 1-2 with two excuses. So before he lost, well, after he lost Ortiz, they said he was sick and still fought. Then after this fight, they said he was getting over pneumonia and something else was wrong. It's like, hey man, we don't want to hear that shit. Uh, so things make up depending on the fighter. Every fighter has different things about them, and certain things that make a fighter special. Some fighters it's their jab. Some fighters it's counter punching. Some fighters their foot movement and keep on going. You can go down the list. With him, it was his movement. It was his herky jerk movement, his feints. Last two fights, I don't know where they been, but they ain't been there. And he looked like, I don't want to get disrespectful, but he don't look that good. So I think they lost. I think after he lost to Bud, his team is looking for answers and they ain't found none yet.
Rick,
Um, you know they say after fighters go through with what he went through with the last two opponents, it takes a lot out of him. And what I saw last night, it looks like a man that's headed for retirement. I was, to be honest with you, man, the fight was just boring as hell, a snooze fest, and I honestly thought, man, he should have he should have got Salazar out of there way earlier. Than it shouldn't have went 10 rounds at all. This was a comeback fight. He was supposed to dominate, and it went 10 rounds, and I just wasn't impressed at all. To be honest, I was damn near falling asleep on the fight. So yeah.
I think we're all in agreement on the lackluster performance from what we expected from him. You had 11 months off. You've been a champion since what I think it was his 11th fight. You've been a champion at that point, but you had the time off to get yourself together. After the two losses, cool. They gave you a soft touch of somebody. He now, albeit he still was a puncher. His one loss came to Kevin Johnson at 140 pounds. So essentially, you lost. You know, you struggled against the 140 pounder, even though he hasn't fought there since 2021. I want to say is what it was. But looking lost, not knowing what to do. I'm with both of y'all on that same situations. Joe Diaz is a great trainer. not taking nothing away from Joe Diaz. The excuses, like Twin said, they came in talking about he was still fighting pneumonia and anything like that. I'm not really here for that because you get in that ring, you're 100%. You got an obligation to perform one way or the other. Even if we know what's going on, you did not have to step in that ring. But once you do, everything is agreed upon. Um, there wasn't too much of an adjustment. You got in that fight, you're supposed to come out clean. You got cut. Your eye was getting swollen up. You were getting hit cleanly in a fight that just should not have been full 10 rounds at all. So I don't know what he does from here at this point, but on the cool, if I am Jermell Charlo and I saw he was 156 and not a full 160, oh my brother, I call that man right now. Ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That man looks like pure food. So with that being said, what's next for Madrimov?
Shit. Uh, his options more open than they would. If he would have dominated, his options would have been. He would have had fewer options because people would have been avoiding him. But now that he look like
Absolutely.
that, hell, he got a whole. The highway is empty. He can go where he want to go. Probably.
Yeah, Rick.
I don't know, man. To be honest with you, I wouldn't mind seeing him and Lubin fight. Just, maybe at 160.
Mm,
Lubin says he's moving up. Maybe Madrimov stays there at 160, which is kind of hard for him to make 160, obviously. But I can see them fighting at 160. I wouldn't mind seeing it.
that's an interesting thought. Mm, That's an interesting thought. I mean, obviously he ain't punching like we thought, or he ain't punching like perceived or how the hype was coming behind him for sure. How Eddie Hearn and it was coming behind it, but the game is the game. Moving right along, let's go to the co-main event of the night: Khalil Coe versus Jesse Hart. Wow, very lackluster there, extremely lackluster. Jesse Hart showed up on weight. Khalil Cole, as we know, missed weight by 8 pounds, essentially 7 pounds, a little over 7 pounds, just day before the day before the fight at the weigh-in. So that's obviously a sign of lack of professionalism and not being ready per se. And then in the fight itself, he did not push his youthful advantage against Jesse Hart. Rick, give me your takeaway from the fight yesterday?
Um, for one, I tried not to, judge the judging, but Jesse Hart won that fight, man. I don't care what anyone says. He, he won the fight, man. Two, you know, Cole is a talented fighter, but it's certain fighters that they just don't have a love for the sport, right? They're just in it to make money, and that's cool, right? I understand it, but for you to come in essentially 8 pounds overweight, and then you go in there and you give that performance, and then they still grant you the victory, which they pretty much robbed Hart, in my opinion. I was just disgusted with the overall with Khalil Coe, man. To be honest with you, man, I'm disgusted with the fighter right now. Um, it, I question his heart. Um, I just question him being a professional right now, man. It was terrible, man. It was terrible.
Hmm.
Just
Twin.
Uh, in the ring, uh, it's hard to sell that Cole won that fight, in my opinion. I think Hart didn't do himself any favors by pretty much taking the 12th round off and raising his hand half of the round like it was over. I think especially if you're not the name of that fight and you're not the younger fighter, and they're clearly pushing this younger fighter up against you to get a name on his resume and get him in there versus a veteran, you might want to fight the whole fight. Man, he didn't do that. So he helped leave the door open that was already cracked open, and that didn't make it any better. He also stopped jabbing for whatever reason, and that ain't help him out either. So I think Hart. I think Hart won. I'd just be interested to see what Cole has to say for himself after this fight. Is there a reason? Does he take accountability? I just wonder how he sees it. Does he plan on moving up a weight class, which I think he's too young to do that. But I don't know. Some things the fighter just has to kind of explain what's going on, and we can go from there. So
Yeah. Um, so many things looked bad leading up to this fight. One, missing weight is one thing. Missing weight, a pound, even though we're not ever accepting of somebody missing weight. You're a professional. You have time on your hands to eat right, work out, train, lose weight, all of that. That's one. But two, coming over almost 8 pounds, you didn't essentially try. You knew you were having, like, those are things I think you talk to your team about. Like, hey y'all, bro, this is what I'm stepping on the scale at right now. I don't know what's, like I said, we don't know what's going on. Like we were texting each other, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes or if there's any issues or whatever like that. We don't know. However, what we do know is what we have in front of us. One, you showed up missing weight. Two, you got in there and you didn't push the issue. So we're not. You can't say you got in there and you were drained and you just didn't have the energy of things. You wasn't pressing that fight at all. You came in overweight, so you ain't drained. You got time. You got energy to go in there and get it done. Jesse Hart, like Chris said, to his downside, or you said to his downside, he did not. All he had to do was jab back half of that fight, and he would have won. And there was nothing else he could have did. Cole stepped to him. He ran up on him, but it was a lack of punches going into it, and that's where he lost that fight at. But the judges seemed to give it just from the aggression of him being there versus actually what he was actually doing. Um, Jesse Hart being the older fighter for sure. Died out in the last 2.5 rounds, between the last 2.5 rounds, between round, 8, 9, 10. But yeah, I still did not think that it was enough for Cole to win. However, that point being taken from Jesse Hart at the end for holding with Tom Taylor, I, it is what it was for that. So that helped it out. Yeah, just not a good look for somebody who has such high hopes in the sport of boxing for the things that he has accomplished to this point. So
and
it's interesting. It's going to be really interesting to see what Matchroom does next after this. If they get a rematch or if they move on, and hopefully what they don't do is what we've seen some promotional companies do: put you in a guy who can beat your style, and they know can beat your style because that's what matchmakers are actually there for. And say either overcome this or don't, and we drop you. You know what I'm saying? So we don't want to see that happen to him because seems like a good cat, seems like a good fighter. Obviously, from the amateurs, we know that about him. Um, we got to see him bounce back though, because this was not the Khalil Coe we saw get his revenge from Manuel Gallegos. So
And I think that's the problem, or one of the problems I think we all have. If it's a younger fighter and they're just not as talented and they don't step up to the plate and deliver, that's fine.
I'm okay with that.
If it's an older fighter and they just out of juice, they long in the tooth and they can't perform it anymore, hit that standard, that's fine. But if it's a younger fighter and we think that's talented and he doesn't step up and meet where we think he should be or where damn near the whole boxing community think he should be and how he should perform. That's more disappointment than anything, and I think
mhm.
that's where we are with him right now. And we've been there with a few other fighters. Other thing before we move on, it's it's pretty three things off the top of my head that I think um need to be brought back from the old school days, and we talk about it all the time. Same day weigh in, so y'all can stop crying about weight bullies and stuff. Number two, stop showing sparring footage because we don't care. And number three, missing weight, like that's a big deal. Back in the day, you did missing weight, like you just didn't do that. No, first of all, y'all don't fight. The fighters today don't fight often enough to be missing weight because, like, what are
No,
you doing?
not at all.
Because
Not at all.
you
They
took
don't.
out
They
you
don't.
took
They
out the
don't.
you took out the volume of fights. So, like, I was looking up, like, Ali, 1 year he fought like 5 times. He stayed in his fight at his fighting weight. Like, they used to fight that many times. So now, if you fight once every 10, 11 months, like what are you doing?
Shoot, look
Like
at
you
my
have
uncle.
time
Even though
to
he was
adjust
bigger, George
and
George
age.
stayed George stayed fighting 10 times in a year. You know that
Right.
it didn't matter. You stayed in row. Hey, bro, I'm in shape. I'm ready to roll, regardless of your weight. You know, Roy Jones. We can run the history of guys that had to cut weight. Roy Jones, James Toney, Gerald McClellan, Julian Jackson. Like you can look at their records and be like, man, he won the belt and he was fighting again 2 months later, or he was fighting again a month later. Like you can look at that and say, like, there's no excuse
Hopkins,
there.
yeah, the list goes on, man.
Yeah, you can run back guys' numbers and there's no excuses. These
Yeah.
cats was fighting and they're not missing weight. However, y'all are not fighting as often and missing weight. So you got to figure out who, the comparisons of, generations and whatnot, those generations were prepared and always ready. This generation seems to be way lazier from what it is, and that's not. And this is not just Khalil Coe. This has to go with a lot of fighters that we see these
But
days. So
that's why I get pissed off when people criticize Crawford. Man, Crawford, he's the last of that dying breed, in my opinion, man. Where you ain't got to get ready because he stays ready, and
mhm,
and people take away from that, and that's one of his attributes to the game, man. To be honest, you ain't got to get ready; he stayed ready, man. So
mhm.
so
And one last thing before we leave. You put your team's paycheck and everything and your paycheck at risk when you do that because 1 pound, cool. 2 pounds, okay. Once you get up to 4, 5, 6, 7, a fighter and their team is well within their right to be like, we not fighting you. Like, nah, we good.
Absolutely.
And the boxing fans suffer for it, your team suffer for it. Like, it is what it is.
Jesse Hart wanted that fight, though, man. I don't care
Oh,
what
for sure.
anybody
He had
says.
been wanted it for a while.
He wanted it,
He'd
man.
always stated he wanted that fight for a while, and
Yep,
he showed up. It just
yep,
is what it was. He showed up. He
yep,
frustrated him early, got him to throw him down, get the point off, and everything. So he did what he's supposed to do.
yep.
Moving on let's move on to the main event. Andy Diamante Cruz versus Raymond Muratalla. I think we got everything we asked for and more in a boxing match. That was a beautiful display of my defensive offensive game and versus my offensive um, placement between Raymond Muratalla, who cut the ring off beautifully at many different spots of that fight. And I'm giving credit to Andy Cruz for his movement around the ring to be able to fire and counter off of those placements as well. Everybody did their job. What I saw last night was two guys who took their training very seriously getting ready for the fight. Two guys who studied each other's styles, was ready, their sharpness of their counter punches, their predictability of each other. Everything I saw last night was on point. Twin, give me your takeaway. Raymond Ortaya gets the victory last night over Andy Cruz. Twin, give me your takeaway of that fight.
It pretty much went how I thought it was gonna go, except for one or two things. I thought Raymond would have
We chose
gassed
Andy
out.
Cruz to win before we get
No,
to the
no.
draw. We did.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Only, but these are the two things that happened that I didn't expect.
Oh, fair enough.
I I didn't expect Raymond. I expect Raymond to gas out is one thing I did because I thought him cutting off the ring and chasing Andy was gonna have make him use more energy than he wanted to use. And two, Raymond went to Andy's body a lot more than I expected, and that slowed down Andy. And that's the way I believe that Murataya ended up getting the win over Cruz is because of that. So I expected a version of that fight, but I didn't expect those two things to happen. So good
Mm-hmm.
fight though.
Rick.
Mortai actually took the game plan that we thought Andy Cruz would actually come in with, man. I thought Andy Cruz was going to go more to the body. Mortai knew that that was his weakness, and he went and reversed it, man. it was just it was a great fight, man. I would love to see them fight again, man. Hats off to Andy Cruz, man. This is only his what seventh professional fight, man. He has every reason to be proud of himself, man. They put on a great show last night, man. That fight saved the whole card, to be honest with you, man. Just an impressive fight, man. Overall.
Yeah, I'm in total agreement there. All right, let me set up. Um, both men came ready. The front end of the fight, Andy Cruz had that fight. I'm not even gonna argue that with anybody. Andy Cruz took probably two of the first 6 rounds. I mean, 4 of the first 6 rounds wholeheartedly. I'm not gonna ever argue that point. But the other credit of this fight goes to Robert Garcia because he made sure that Raymond made the adjustments in the fight to get him to focus. Hey, he's doing these things. You're going to have to take his body to slow down some of his movement. In those first 6 rounds, Andy Cruz's back movement along those ropes was so smooth and so fluid that he was able to counter with, I mean, pinpoint precision on his counter punches and sharp punches. Those were very, very sharp. He didn't waste any of those punches. Good job on Robert Garcia to not let Raymond Muratalla get discouraged over the speed difference that they had and just to keep playing your work your plan. You know what I'm saying? That's one thing I think that was the major uh winning point for Raymond Muratalla. On the back end of that fight, Bozy Ennis told Andy Cruz, like, hey, you're gonna have to try to go take this fight from him. He's in his hometown, these are his people, blah, 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 and all of that. However, with that, Bozy did not give Andy enough adjustment from what we heard in the corner to go in there and take the rest of that fight. He didn't, from what we heard, we did not hear, hey, you're going to have to step into him more because he's coming to you. Yes, he's not hitting you to the head as cleanly, but he is landing 3 and 4 body shots before he misses that head. And the judges are still looking at those body shots land before that happens. He's getting off a jab, even if he misses the hook, he's going to throw that jab back on, and you're getting the counter shots. However, you are not getting exactly what you need, and the judges are going to see that, and you need to take this from him. So both men, like I said, both men came in that ring ready to fight. There was no question if they were in shape because anybody else would have probably been beat down in that fight for how sharp both of those men were in that fight. The key point of that fight was the corner. Robert Garcia once again showed why he is what he is and why people come to see him for what he does. That was great preparation and motivation and adjustment for a fight by Robert Garcia, who deserves every right to be trainer of the year, no matter how many years he's going to be training fighters. Great job by him.
Hey man,
Um,
one thing I want to say, man. Shout out to Greg Hack too, man. Hey man, hey that man got
Greg
a bright
Hackett did
future.
call it.
He got a bright future in training, man. So yeah, man, I
He
was I
did
was
call it. He
impressed,
did call
man.
it for Jesse Hart. He did.
Yep. So yep.
So yeah, I think everything we saw last night, Raymond Muratalla proved him being elevated as IBF champ once Vasily Lomachenko retired was no accident. That's what a champion looks like. That's what a champion performs like. Yeah, I'm down in these early rounds, but watch me come back and win this fight. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. But he did that. He took that fight from Andy Cruz, who had it, who probably had it in the bag, but going into that 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th round, then you get to those championship rounds. Hey man, you got to figure out something to close it out. That look pretty trying to roll it, looking like I'm rolling the punches, but those punches were landing clean. You tried to roll them, you tried to make it look like you were rolling them, but they was landing, my boy, and that's okay, you know. But you got to go. You can't fight back on your back foot the whole time while a man's coming to you and think the referees are gonna always give you that round. It's not gonna happen. I understand boxing, but Raymond Muratalla wasn't just coming to you; he was coming to you with punches, and that's where Andy Cruz ended up losing that fight at. What's next for Andy Cruz, Rick?
I mean, the sky's the limit, man. I, anything he wants, man. I think he's dangerous. I think he poses a threat for anybody he gets in the ring with. But the sky's the limit, man. Hell of a fighter, man. Hell of a fighter.
Twin.
I think they better look at the vacant WBA belt and see if he can get that route. because he not about to get no fights. Don't nobody want to fight him like that.
It ain't that vacant. Remember Floyd Schofield?
Ah, yeah,
Flood.
yeah, yeah, that's right. Man, well, shit, he for damn
Ain't he
sure
Scope?
fighting Cruz. So,
Oh, now after let me tell you something. After what I saw last night from the both of those men, Abdul Top Rank is not going to place him and Abdullah against each other next at all, which is totally understandable because even though I hate it, because once you become a champion, you know how I feel. Once you become a champion, ain't no training wheels no more, my boy. You in that water with them sharks. You got to go swimming with them. But they're not going to do that yet. They both got those champions. Schofield and Golden Boy, they're going to be elevated while the Marshals are looking for Javante Davis to figure out what's going on with that. And then Shakur is fighting Teofimo, and he says, if he can't get another big fight, he's going to come back down to 135. So we'll see how that goes. So we know fights can be made amongst all of them, and we'll see what happens next. Now, what's next for Raymond Muratalla? Because 135 ain't just outside of the champions. It's not just no punk division. There's a lot of characters off in there. It's a lot of work off in there. So we'll
I don't
see.
know.
if
I
I
don't
was him,
know.
I push for Mason. I mean, if we have all these divisions where we keep seeing unified, or we having undisputed. Like, is somebody gonna try in that division to be undisputed? Got to start somewhere.
That's true. I'm not arguing against it. I'm never arguing against it. Like I said, I don't care how young you is. You jump in that water, you better swim.
Absolutely.
That's it. With
Absolutely.
that being said, I think that's all we got. Appreciate y'all. Next episode, y'all see we'll be covering everything. We got a lot of boxing to talk coming up for the January 31st weekend. I mean, a whole bunch of boxing. So, nonetheless, thank y'all for tuning in. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. We have 1,800 subscribers now. FYI, if y'all have not checked, because I did. We got
And we
1,800
appreciate
subscribers.
y'all, man.
So appreciate y'all. We're trying to get there. We're on our way. Thank you once again. I'm Foreman.
I'm Twin.
Rick.
Y'all be cool. Stay warm. Stay safe.